Thaqalayn Hadith. I have left two precious memorials among you, that if you follow them, you will never go astray after me. And one of them is greater than the other. It is God's book that is more precious, and like a saving rope hanging from the sky to the earth. And the other one is my family, al-Bayt. Be aware that these two precious memorials will not be separated from each other until they come back to me next to the Kawthar house. Even though Muslims, both Shia and Sunni, accept all these hadith, some of Sunni brothers believe that the Quran itself is the supreme leader after the Holy Prophet, so there is no need for a second order. But in response, it should be said that, first of all, we are not at the status to assign to the Holy Prophet. Secondly, if someone really has faith and sincerity in Islam and the Prophet of Islam, he will not realize that why the Prophet did this and made such a will. Islam is depicted in the Holy Quran from a theoretical aspect, and it shows itself in a practical terms and external embodiment in the Prophet's family. Islam is depicted in the Holy Quran from a theoretical aspect, and it shows itself in a practical terms and external embodiment in the Prophet's family. Therefore, when we accepted the leadership of the Quran in theoretical terms, we must accept the leadership of the Prophet's family in practical terms. So the one who separates these two memorials will never step into the path of guidance. And it is for this reason that the Prophet's family were mentioned by the Prophet with the interpretation of the rescue ship and the source of security from moral filth for human being. If someone refuses the orders, he will drown in ignorance and misguidance. The Prophet in this hadith, Thaqalayn, introduced his family as an reliable scientific source and the leading authority to the Muslims, and approved their words and deeds. Therefore, all Muslims, even those who do not believe in the leadership of the Prophet's family, have to learn the rules of the religion inevitably and have to refer to them and follow their orders. As the Prophet said, the Quran and his family will not be separated. It is a proof that both the Quran and his family will remain together until the day of resurrection and with the same importance. Frequency of Thaqalayn Hadith. The Thaqalayn Hadith is one of the frequent hadith. Ibn Hajar in his book says that this hadith was quoted by almost 20 companions of Prophet. Words of the Prophet's family are trustworthy, like the Quran itself, and their words should be taken into action in religious matters, including beliefs and jurisprudence, and despite the reason from their side, one should not be deviated. The Thaqalayn Hadith considers the Quran and the Prophet's family as a scientific reference for beliefs and rulings, and if the Islamic community follow this hadith, conflicts will decrease and unity will be pervasive. It is said in the Quran by this meaning that the word of God is infallible. No wrong comes to it, neither from the front nor from behind, because it has been unveiled by wise and praiseworthy God. If the Quran is infallible, then naturally its counterpart must also be infallible, because it is not correct that wrongdoers are equal to the Quran. So according to this hadith, the Prophet's family and spurious leaders must be innocent of sins and mistakes, because according to the words of the Prophet, if we did according to the speech and behavior of the leaders, we will not fall into astray and mistake. This can be said if the Prophet's family is innocent of sin and mistake, otherwise people will be led astray and misguided directly. The Prophet said in general, If you follow my Ahlul Bayt, you will never go astray. In other words, the Islamic community should imitate them until the day of resurrection, which is the day of the meeting of two memorials with the Prophet. It can be understood that these two divine indications and two memorials of the Prophet are continuously immune from errors and mistakes, and are far from any kind of crookedness and disobedience. Because it can never be imagined that Almighty God obliges us to obey a disobedient and sinful person, or He creates an unbreakable bond between wrongdoers and the Quran. So only one group can have the deserve of being equal to the Quran, and those people are immaculate and infallible from gaffe, sin, error, and mistake. So if the family of the Prophet is not infallible, in this case they may say something and something else may be said in the Quran. Therefore, the connection between them, which the Hadith indicates, disappears. On the other hand, necessity of being together for these two is that the family should have full knowledge of the facts of Quran and be expositors and interpreters of the Quran. And according to history, not only the family of the Prophet did not refer to anyone to understand the Quran, but also Muslims referred to them in order to acquire the knowledge of religion and the Quran. And no one in the Islam community was more knowledgeable about the Quran than them. Now we conclude that one of the greatest conditions of governorship and leadership is the infallibility of sin and immunity from mistake, and through common sense reasoning, the necessity of such a state in celestial leaders have been proven. Now the Hadith of al-Thaqalayn testifies that the Holy Prophet's family is free from all defects and mistakes, like the Quran, and since following of them is imperative, they must inevitably be free from sin. Sources and references from Sunni's book that refer to Hadith of al-Thaqalayn. Ghadir Khum event. In the 10th year of immigration, the Prophet went to Mecca for the Hajj rituals, and since Muslims in various regions had been notified in advance to participate in this journey, a large number of them participated. The number of these people, in addition to the residents of Mecca and the surrounding tribes, was more than 120,000. And in the Islamic chronicles, this Hajj has been interpreted as farewell Hajj because the Prophet announced his imminent death during this journey, and his sermon bid farewell to his community and imparted his wills to them. After performing the Hajj rituals on the way back to Medina, while the multitude of Muslims accompanied with the Prophet, they arrived to Jufa and near to Ghadir Khum on Thursday, the 18th of July at noon. At that time, faithful Gabriel, the divine messenger, revealed this eminent verse to the Prophet. O Prophet, deliver what has been revealed to you from your Lord, and if you do not do it, you have not delivered his mission, and God will protect you from the evil of people. And God commissioned the Prophet to convey the divine message about governorship and leadership to the community, and not to be afraid of the hypocrites and the malicious, ambitious people, because God is protector and defender. And after the revelation, the Prophet ordered all the people to gather in Ghadir Khum to listen to the revelation, and those who had gone ahead should be brought back, and those who were behind should arrive, until finally all the people gathered in Ghadir Khum. First the Prophet prayed with them, and he went among the crowd after the prayer, and he stayed in the place where people had prepared a pulpit for him from camel saddle and started the sermon. At the beginning, he praised God and then pointed out that his death was near. Then he advised and preached to the community and led them to clinging to God's book and his family. And in this regard, he emphasized eloquently and abundantly and considered separation from the God's book and his pure family as doom and misguidance. Then Prophet called our master, head of all believers, Ali ibn Abi Talib, to the pulpit and held Ali's hand in his hand and raised it in a way that the entire community completely saw the hands of those divine honorables, and the Prophet said so, O people, who is the person that all Muslims should be under his governorship and leadership? They said that God and the Prophet know better. The Prophet said, God is my ruler and I am the head and the ruler over you and all Muslims, and I have governorship over everyone. So whoever I have governorship over, Ali also has governorship over him. He repeated this sentence 3 times. Then he said that, O God, you also protect and support the one who accepted Ali as his head and came under his command. And the one who made enmity towards Ali, you be enemy with him, and help Ali's friend and be enemy of those who are his enemies. Then the Prophet ended his sermon with this sentence: those who are present should inform the absentees of this order. And before the crowd dispersed, this verse was revealed to the Prophet. Today I have perfected your religion and completed my blessings to you, and I have willed and consented to such a complete and comprehensive Islam for you. And the Prophet, peace and blessings of God be upon him, said God is the greatest, after revelation of this verse, and thank God for the perfection and completion of the religion and his blessings and satisfaction with the authority of Muhammad and the governorship and leadership of Ali after him. 37th verse of Surah Ma'idah is one of the other verses revealed to the Holy Prophet of Islam regarding the event of Ghadir Khum. Now let's look at a sample of Sunni origins and sources that have mentioned this sublime verse about the appointment of head of all believers to the governorship and leadership on the blessed day of Ghadir Khum.